Hey, I'm Carl Azus with CNN Student News, your source for current events, fun features, and puzzling puns. You're going to see why in a few minutes. First up, though, we're updating you on a standoff in the U.S. state of Oregon. On our January 8th show, which you can find in the archive of our website, we reported on a man named Ammon Bundy and a group of armed protesters who took over an unoccupied federal building in rural southeast Oregon. Some of the demonstrators are still there. But yesterday, 8 people connected to the standoff were arrested, including protest leader Ammon Bundy and 4 others at a traffic stop. That's also where a demonstrator identified as Lavoy Finicum was shot and killed. Law enforcement officials say it's not clear who fired first, police or the protesters. The demonstrators say Finicum had his hands in the air when he was shot. A local sheriff says the death didn't have to happen, and he called for the occupiers of the federal building to leave. The demonstrators say that's something they will not do. We're moving one state to the south now. In the city of Pacifica, California, there's a state of emergency, and this is why. It almost looks like a scale model of a dangerous cliffside. Because it's real, officials have asked residents of homes and apartment complexes to get out. The rapid erosion of the coast has been blamed on storms caused by El Nino. The backyards of some properties have already been washed out to sea. But even though city officials have labeled the properties unsafe and ordered residents to leave, some people say they're not going anywhere. They don't think the danger is imminent. It's not the first time homes in this area have been evacuated. Storms have been eroding these cliffs for years. Officials say relief organizations like the Red Cross have been contacted to help support those who've had to abandon their homes. The northeastern U.S. is where we're starting today's call of the roll from Hancock, Maine. Please welcome the Hornets. Hancock Grammar School gets things going today. From Bridgeport, Connecticut, we've got some presidents watching. They're presiding over Warren Harding High School. And from the capital of South Korea, that's Seoul, please welcome our viewers from Wimun High School. Great to have you watching. Ellis Island is in upper New York Bay. It's only about 27 acres in size. For a while, it was used for landfill. In the early 1800s, it was a fort. At one point, it was a detention center for people suspected of supporting U.S. enemies. But it's most famous as the gateway to America. For millions of immigrants from the 1890s through the 1950s, Ellis Island was where they were identified, recorded, and given permission to enter the U.S. Part of that process included physical exams, and there's a lesser-known area of Ellis Island that housed the sick.
If I go down this hallway, I'm going to be going to the hospital built to restore the health of people suffering from minor injuries, broken bones, goiters. Even babies were born in that building. These immigrants were expected to do physically demanding work, and if you found that you didn't have the physique or the capacity to do that kind of work, they possibly deport you. Go down this hallway, though, you're going to go to the contagious and infectious disease hospital. We're talking about diphtheria, scarlet fever, measles, whooping cough, tuberculosis, trachoma. Hopefully I survive it, and then I can return to the immigration process. You're going to see some barbaric treatments that would be the medical treatments of the day. For the most part, though, this is the first time a third-class patient would ever see the inside of a hospital. Each pavilion is the same. It's going to be a very large open room in the back where patients are going to be, as far from the hallway as possible. There would have been 14 beds in the room, each bed positioned between each of the windows. There were private rooms, but if you had a private room, you likely were either psychotic or you perhaps had tuberculosis. These are the isolation wards of Ellis Island. The people here are going to be suffering from serious diseases, maybe multiple diseases. So one of the cruel ironies of this room is the better view you have of the statue, the least likely you're going to survive your disease or get into the United States. It's the autopsy amphitheater. There's going to be a darkened room. The surgical lamp's going to illuminate the autopsy space. You're not going to find too many people dying of malaria in the City of Hospital in New York. Doctors want to come out to see an autopsy being performed on that immigrant. If you worked here at Ellis Island, you likely lived here. This is the staff house. Very important medical officers lived here with their families, feet away from people dying of diphtheria. Children are going to be playing in the air, enjoying Christmas. 40% of all Americans can trace an immigrant who came through Ellis Island. So these stories need to be told, but it requires guides and volunteers to actually mine these stories and then share with the people as they come here to visit Ellis Island.
Okay, just as an athlete dreams of pro sports or an actor dreams of the big screen, many of those who are in band or in a band have dreams of success in the music industry. And you probably know enough about it to expect it's a pay-your-dues profession. You have to earn your success. So what does that look like? CNN caught up with a group of songwriters who showed us some of the challenges of making music in the streaming age.
Let's just capture a vibe. What are you feeling?
It's lunchtime at the Manhattan studios of songwriter-producer team The 11.
1:04 p.m.
And they're starting on a brand new song. Brothers James and Matt Morales and their partner Dave Rodriguez are collaborating today with singer-songwriter Jeanette Claudette.
It's like that, like you were like.
They start with a chord progression.
It's got that like New York radio Latin like.
And then the song's core message.
I'm anticipating being with you kind of vibe. Like, got me waiting kind of thing. Those are just the words that I'm playing with.
So we're just half an hour into the process and things are progressing really quickly. This is not the romantic notion of songwriting that you might think, the thunderbolt of inspiration that just happens. These guys are under intense pressure to keep churning out music as quickly as possible.
So I could never leave.
There are a lot more songwriters, I would say, today because the technology allows us to do that. Technology makes everything so much faster and quicker. We have to expedite the process.
3 hours in and a song is starting to take shape. The 11 got a lucky break 4 years ago when a friend and music manager spotted one of their tracks. That led to a publishing contract with one of the world's biggest publishing companies, Sony ATV, and the work started flowing.
We've had records with Meghan Trainor, Sean Kingston, Jesse McCartney.
Theirs, though, is a rare success story. Jason Bloom, a 20-year veteran of the industry who's written songs for Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys, says this is the most difficult time he's ever seen for songwriters.
I personally have had a situation where more than 1 million airings on YouTube earned me $30. Streaming has not caught up in terms of the payments, and it's almost impossible for songwriters to earn a living. So what do songwriters do? We have to write amazing songs. Good is not good enough anymore.
I don't wanna bother waiting.
It's a message keenly felt by this group, even with the extra money they earn from producing their own music.
Now, if you write a hit record and you have 5% of a smash multi-platinum selling record, 5% may not sound like a lot, but the music business is a business of nickels and dimes. And if you make enough nickels and dimes, you can make a lot of money.
Baby, if you wanna be successful.
After 5 hours of work, they have the skeleton of a new record.
You're gonna be a hit?
We hope so. I mean, it's hard to say. We don't get to make that call.
The laughter is nervous. In an industry where profits are spread ever thinner, that next big hit means everything.
Oh, I don't wanna wait another minute.
Claire Sebastian, CNN, New York.
A 14-year-old from Kentucky holds the Guinness World Record for solving a Rubik's Cube. He lined up all the colors on the 3x3 block in less than 5 seconds. Well, this robot's a little faster. It gets the job done in just over 1 second. Using a computer application, several cameras, some stepper motors, and some 3D printed robot arms to position the cube, its builders say they've created a puzzle-solving machine worthy of a new world record. If they made it more complicated, it could be a Rubik's Goldberg machine. Only a few folks are going to get that, like those who can really solve a Rubik's Cube. It's a mental block, a square deal, a challenge measured in qubits. Still, puns about it always make for a colorful conclusion to CNN Student News. We hope to see you tomorrow. I'm Carl Azus.